Hey YouTubes, how's it going? As promised, if you've been following along my videos, I put a 110 kit in my 2015 Breakout, and she's now home from getting dynoed and properly tuned. I may end up tuning it again after my break-in period. I mean, the kit only has like 20 miles on it after everything's all said and done. So I'll still take it easy for the next 500 miles or so. Here's a quick walk around of how she sits. First, I got the 12-inch KST bars on there with extended wires, a Harley Davidson quick release windscreen, got an RLNS monster sucker, got some accessories HD pipes. Now these are a stepped header, and then I have some DK custom torque inserts. And we'll get to the dyno graph here in a minute, but the torque inserts really saved this build. I'm a big believer in those for anti-reversion of pipes. I got the Moto 110 cylinders with their level B heads. These are ported and polished. They also have the spring valves, the beehive valves in the heads. The HPI 55mm throttle body with 5.3 gram injectors. I have Moto quick push rods, adjustables. And inside of here, I have a Woods 777 cam with an S&S cam plate and oil pump. I also have on the other side, which you won't be able to see it through the derby cover. Underneath here is an AIM variable clutch, which keeps me from having clutch slip with all the added power that I have. Other than that, I don't think I've done anything else major to the bike. She looks good as is. I can't wait to get out and ride her. This is a Thunder header that goes to this bike, but I have a different Thunder header coming that has O2 sensors because this bike doesn't have O2 sensors on it, and I won't be able to tune it. But that's a different project. Changing cams and stuff in that. We'll get to that another video. But back to this. Yes, there she is. I'm so happy to have her back. I can't wait to take her out and ride. Loud as heck. She's not quiet, but I like a 2-in-2 pipe for most of my applications. And on this bike, the 2-in-2 looks really good. I'm not looking to race this bike or take it to the track, so I know I lost a little bit of performance with the 2-in-2, but we'll go over this chart here in a minute. So now let's go over the dyno graph. I'll go ahead and put these on the screen. So here's the dyno graph for this particular build. You'll see that the can map from Moto for all these parts is the blue. And it's okay. It's enough to get me going, but with this type of components, you really need to have it dynoed. It's almost impossible for Moto to build a map for these components. So it looks like I was staying about 90 pounds of torque from 2 to 2.5, and then it rose up to, I don't know, about 105 or so and kind of leveled back off, peaking about 108.4 pounds at 4,000 RPM. And then the max power was 100.1 at 6,000 RPM. And then after my Dyno 2 session with the power jets, I am now at 120 foot-pounds of torque at 4.6 thousand RPM, and then 116.4 horsepower at 5.8 thousand RPM. So I've got a really sharp incline right from takeoff all the way till about 2,700 RPM. Then it kind of flatlines a little bit and then takes off again at 3,500 RPM from about 100 and, I don't know, I would say 113 or so to 120. So this will give me a really nice controllable ride, street rideable. It's not going to try and, you know, take off on me real fast, but the stock numbers for 103, and this would be for the 103 high output, which this bike was not. It was just a normal 103. So we're looking at about 90 pounds of torque flatlined, and maybe 80, 70, 75 pounds, or horsepower rather. And then with the Harley 110 tire shredder kit, which they call a stage 5, you're looking at about 107 or so foot-pounds of torque and another 103 horsepower. So even the Harley stage 5, I am well past that. I'm actually pushing into the Harley 117 kit. And this is using Harley brand Screaming Eagle, which you can do much better aftermarket, as we all know. But according to this graph that you'll see, this is from the Harley catalog. Their 117 kit, which is a stage 4 of a 110, is about 112 or so foot-pounds of torque and 110 horsepower. So I'm even exceeding all of that. So, you know, even at losing a little bit of performance with these 2-in-2 pipes, I am well above the power curve of the traditional 110 kit. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this rides, and we'll make plenty of videos of that, but it's only 20-some degrees out. So here's a quick clip of one of the dyno runs. I wasn't able to be in this video by myself. Actually, one of the guys that worked there took this video for me, whom I'm friends with. So shout out to Chuck for taking that video for me. I really appreciate you, man. So anyway, we'll see plenty of this bike coming up in the next few months. I'm gonna do more videos and some rides with this bike and first impressions of how I feel with it. I've not been on this bike yet and rode it since it came back. I've just done a couple more heat cycles just to hear it. So it sounds great. Super thrilled about it. I like a loud bike, and like I said, I don't mind losing a little bit of performance. People get pretty tangled up about dyno numbers anyway. You know, you see people put graphs out and go, oh my gosh, my bike's making 130,000 horsepower and 60 billion foot-pounds of torque. You know, that's a little exaggerated. But, you know, that's 5th gear wide open throttle, which unless you're on a drag strip or something, no one's riding that way. So, you know, well, some people are who do a bunch of wheelies and stuff, but I would think 95% of us don't ride like that. So, you know, don't get too caught up in these dyno numbers, guys. You know, just because your bike says, the dyno graph says you're making 120 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM, you're not going to feel it because you're not actually there. You know, when you're riding along at 4,000 RPM, you know, on a highway or whatever, you know, going down the country road or just having some fun on it, you're not really making that much torque because you're not usually at 100% throttle. You're more like 50 or 60. So don't get too caught up in numbers, guys. People like to chase dyno numbers, but in the end, it's not realistic. It's just really a graph showing you how healthy your bike is and how strong your motor runs. So anyway, take care, guys. Do what you do and make those videos so I have something to watch. Deuces.